On this day in history, we remember the remarkable individuals who shaped our world. Welcome to Who Died Today in History, where we honor their legacies. From artists to leaders, their impact lives on. If you find their stories meaningful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay connected. Tina Turner, the indomitable queen of rock and roll, passed away from natural causes on May 24, 2023, at her home in Küsnacht, Switzerland. She was 83. Her death, while peaceful and expected following years of health struggles including stroke complications, kidney failure, and intestinal cancer, marked the end of a transformative era in music and female empowerment. Turner's passing was not only the loss of a singular talent, but a reminder of a woman who survived, reinvented, and ultimately transcended the boundaries of fame, abuse, and genre. Tina Turner's death came in a world vastly different from the one in which she first broke barriers in the 1960s. As a black woman in the male-dominated world of rock music and as a survivor of domestic abuse, Turner's career challenged both racial and gender norms. Her departure reminded the world of her dual legacy, the voice that electrified stadiums and the personal resilience that inspired millions. The widespread tributes following her death, from world leaders to everyday fans, underscored her global impact. Cities lit up landmarks, musicians paid homage through covers, and fans revisited her memoirs and biopic, What's Love Got to Do with It?, to celebrate her triumphs. Turner's death amplified her legend, especially as an emblem of personal reinvention. After escaping an abusive marriage to musical partner Ike Turner, she restarted her career in her 40s, an age when most pop stars fade. Her 1984 album, Private Dancer, made her a global icon and cemented her image as a fierce, autonomous woman who reclaimed her life and story. That narrative became even more resonant in the years following her death, as conversations about domestic violence, race, and female agency remained central to cultural discourse. The way we remember Tina Turner speaks volumes about humanity's relationship with power and memory. We celebrate those who break molds and survive the systems built to suppress them. Turner is immortalized not just in platinum records and sold-out tours, but in the women she inspired to speak out, the artists she influenced, and the audiences she united. Statues, Hall of Fame inductions, and musical retrospectives keep her voice alive, but it is her story of survival, freedom, and power that truly echoes. Through art and remembrance, we ensure that legends like Tina Turner never fade into silence. Harold Wilson, the twice-serving British Prime Minister known for his pragmatic leadership and wily political acumen, died of colon cancer and Alzheimer's disease on May 24, 1995, at the age of 79. His death marked the end of an era in British politics, as he had played a pivotal role in navigating the United Kingdom through the social revolutions and economic turbulence of the 1960s and 70s. His final years, clouded by illness, were in stark contrast to the sharp intellect and verbal dexterity that had once defined his leadership. Wilson's passing reflected the challenges of an aging political generation facing the rise of neoliberalism and a shift away from the post-war consensus he helped build. He had symbolized a Labour Party that straddled tradition and modernity, bringing technological optimism and social reform to the fore while balancing Cold War pressures and industrial unrest. His death came just 2 years before the landslide victory of Tony Blair's New Labour, underscoring the ideological evolution of the party Wilson had once steered through its formative years in power. The immediate response to Wilson's death was marked by a mixture of respect and reflection. While not universally beloved, he was widely acknowledged as a master strategist and a stabilizing figure during politically volatile times. His understated charisma and economic realism earned him admiration across the political spectrum. Tributes praised not only his political legacy, but also his wit, his mastery of parliamentary debate, and his deep understanding of both the British people and political machinery. Wilson's death, while not a moment that dramatically shifted the course of British history, nevertheless amplified the legend of a man who had been both an insider and an innovator. His leadership during pivotal events, such as the decision to keep Britain out of the Vietnam War, the devaluation of the pound in 1967, and his handling of decolonization, cemented his place in history as a complex, adaptive leader. In remembering Harold Wilson, humanity's relationship with power and mortality comes into focus. We tend to revere those who manage the delicate balance between vision and realism. Through biographies, documentaries, and political analysis, Wilson is immortalized not through mythic tragedy, but through the nuanced legacy of governance in a changing world. His is a reminder that memory often favors the steady hands that guide through storm, even if quietly. Hermione Ferdinand Gingold, the indelibly sharp-tongued British actress known for her wit and eccentric charm, passed away on May 24, 1987, in New York City at the age of 89. Her death was due to heart problems following a stroke, marking the end of a long and illustrious career in theater, film, and radio. It was a natural passing, in keeping with the quieter final years of a woman who had once commanded attention with every syllable and smirk. Gingold's death did not shake the political world or signal a cultural turning point, yet it symbolized a fading era of theatrical sophistication and comedic subtlety. She was a relic of the Edwardian stage, and later a standout in mid-20th century cinema, flourishing in roles that highlighted her idiosyncratic delivery and satirical brilliance. Her career spanned everything from Noel Coward revues to Hollywood musicals like Gigi, 1958, where her repartee with Maurice Chevalier became legendary. Her unique vocal timbre and deadpan expressions represented a type of entertainment that valued wordplay, character, and timing over spectacle. Her passing reflected broader cultural transitions, from the dominance of live performance and radio to the visual saturation of television and blockbuster cinema. Gingold, though adaptive, always retained a sense of theatrical tradition and British eccentricity, making her a bridge between the classical and the modern. In this way, her death quietly closed the curtain on a particular flavor of 20th century performance art. The immediate consequences of her death were primarily within the arts community, which mourned the loss of a true original. While she never achieved the mainstream superstardom of her contemporaries, her influence endured in the world of character acting and comedy. She was often cited by later performers as an example of how quirkiness and intellect could shine just as brightly as beauty or youth. In reflecting on Gingold's departure, we see how mortality gently ushers out eras, not with explosions, but with quiet exits. Figures like Gingold are immortalized not through grand monuments, but through the enduring charm of their work. In clips, memoirs, and stage revivals, she lives on, her legacy a testament to the power of individuality in art. Through laughter and style, she carved her place in memory, not as a household name, but as an indelible voice. George Maharis, best known for his role as Buzz Murdoch in the 1960s television series Route 66, passed away on May 24, 2023 at the age of 94. His death was due to natural causes, marking a quiet end to a life once lived in the fast lane, both literally and figuratively, on America's highways and Hollywood sets. His passing, while not a global headline, invites reflection on celebrity, masculinity, and personal reinvention during a changing era of American entertainment. Maharis rose to prominence during a period when television was helping redefine American identity. Route 66, with its episodic travels across the country, captured the restlessness of post-war youth and the spirit of exploration. As Buzz Murdoch, Maharis brought charisma and complexity to a character navigating moral dilemmas and social issues unusual for TV of the time. His sudden departure from the show in 1963, due to a combination of health issues and rumored disputes with producers, foreshadowed a career that would never again reach the same peak. His death reflects a generational shift, the sunsetting of television's golden age and the actors who embodied its promise. Maharis lived through the rigid studio system, the tabloid pressures of mid-century Hollywood, and changing social attitudes toward identity and privacy. As a closeted gay man in a less tolerant era, he faced challenges that were quietly understood but rarely acknowledged in public. In this way, his story echoes the invisible costs of fame during a time when personal truth was often sacrificed for career survival. The immediate consequence of his passing was a renewed interest in his work, especially among nostalgic fans and media historians. Tributes focused on his brooding charisma, his contributions to early serialized drama, and his role as a pioneer of sorts, a leading man whose off-screen life hinted at deeper narratives of constraint and courage. Maharis's legacy lives on in archived episodes, retrospectives, and the memory of a character who traveled America's backroads in search of meaning. His death reminds us that mortality strips away the myths of fame, but often reveals something more profound: the humanity behind the performance. We honor such figures not with statues, but by re-watching, re-evaluating, and remembering, through screens, stories, and the silent gratitude of those who saw themselves, perhaps for the first time, in a character on the road. Samuel E. Wright, best known as the voice behind the beloved character Sebastian in Disney's The Little Mermaid, passed away on May 24, 2021, at the age of 74 after a battle with prostate cancer. His death marked the quiet close of a career that had left a vibrant imprint on both stage and screen. Unlike the dramatic or politically charged deaths of historical monarchs or martyrs, Wright's passing was natural and private, yet it still reverberated widely among fans of Disney, Broadway, and African-American performers who broke barriers in entertainment. Wright's work came during a time when African-American artists were still fighting for prominent, nuanced representation in mainstream media. His portrayal of Sebastian, the charismatic Caribbean crab with a heart of gold, became iconic not only because of the music, but because it infused animated storytelling with rich cultural flavor and personality. Songs like Under the Sea and Kiss the Girl, both performed by Wright, became synonymous with the Disney Renaissance of the late 1980s, a time when the studio was reasserting itself as a dominant force in family entertainment. His death did not shift the course of global history, but it did inspire a wave of appreciation and remembrance across social media and entertainment platforms. It served as a moment of reflection on the quiet but essential contributions of voice actors and stage performers who breathe life into characters that transcend generations. His passing spotlighted the often unseen labor behind animation's magic and reminded the public of the power of joyful performance to define cultural eras. Wright was also a trailblazer on Broadway, portraying Mufasa in the original cast of The Lion King, further cementing his role in uplifting stories of heritage and legacy for audiences worldwide. His characters often stood for dignity, wisdom, and warmth, values that transcended their fictional worlds and touched real lives. In remembering Samuel E. Wright, we are reminded of how mortality humbles even the brightest talents, yet memory can elevate them to lasting significance. We immortalize such figures not through grand monuments, but through the enduring joy of their performances, the melodies we continue to sing, and the characters who live on in the imaginations of children and adults alike. Through animation, theater, and song, Wright's legacy dances under the sea and beyond, echoing the timeless power of storytelling. Jerry Marin, the last surviving member of the iconic group known as the Lollipop Guild from The Wizard of Oz, died of natural causes on May 24, 2018, at the age of 98. His death marked the end of a living link to one of the most celebrated films in American cinematic history. Marin's passing was quiet, occurring in a San Diego nursing facility, but it symbolized the closing of a significant chapter in the golden age of Hollywood and the enduring legacy of a film that shaped generations. Born Gerard Marenghi in 1920, Marin grew up in an era when individuals with dwarfism were often relegated to novelty acts or sideshow attractions. His role in The Wizard of Oz offered him a rare opportunity to be part of something magical, even if the recognition was delayed by decades. The film's release during the Great Depression gave audiences a fantastical escape from their daily struggles, and Marin's cheerful delivery of the Lollipop Guild introduction became one of its most memorable moments. In a time when difference was often mocked or hidden, Marin's performance contributed, however subtly, to a broader recognition of actors with disabilities. The immediate consequence of Marin's passing was not one of political or social upheaval, but rather a nostalgic remembrance. His death prompted a surge of public tributes and media reflections on The Wizard of Oz and its cultural significance. As the last living Munchkin, Marin embodied the bridge between a beloved fictional world and real human experience, a reminder that even the most fantastical stories are built by ordinary people whose contributions resonate far beyond their screen time. Marin's legacy continues to be celebrated through film retrospectives, memorabilia exhibitions, and the enduring popularity of The Wizard of Oz. His story underscores the broader human desire to be remembered for bringing joy, even in small roles, and challenges us to recognize the value of all contributions, no matter how modest they might appear. In the end, Jerry Marin's death invites reflection on how memory transforms mortality into meaning. Through cinema, public remembrance, and the preservation of cultural history, we immortalize figures like Marin, not for their fame alone, but for the light they helped to cast on the shared human story. Dick Martin, the legendary comedian best known as one half of the hosting duo behind the groundbreaking television show Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, died of natural causes on May 24, 2008, at the age of 86. He passed away at a hospital in Santa Monica, California, due to respiratory complications following a long history of pulmonary issues stemming from a childhood bout with tuberculosis. Though his death did not come with the shock of sudden violence or political consequence, it marked the end of an era for television comedy that reshaped the cultural landscape of the 1960s. Martin's comedic career reflected the shifting values of mid-20th century America. Laugh-In, which premiered in 1968 during a time of social upheaval, Vietnam War protests, and cultural revolution, used humor as both a mirror and a shield. The show's fast-paced sketches, absurdist tone, and satirical edge allowed it to tackle serious topics with levity, offering a release valve for a society grappling with change. Martin, with his affable smile and signature deadpan delivery, became a symbol of this comedic rebellion. His passing served as a poignant reminder of the era's unique blend of activism and entertainment. The immediate consequences of Martin's death were primarily felt in the entertainment community. Tributes poured in from fellow comedians, actors, and fans who recognized his contributions to television and humor. His passing reignited discussions about the cultural impact of Laugh-In, a show that helped launch the careers of Goldie Hawn, Lily Tomlin, and others, and laid the groundwork for sketch comedy programs like Saturday Night Live. Martin's death did not shift the trajectory of history, but it amplified his legend in the realm of comedy. His work lives on in reruns, comedy retrospectives, and academic studies of television's evolution. Through laughter, he and his contemporaries challenged norms and provided commentary on a divided society, making the medium a space for both reflection and release. In reflecting on Dick Martin's legacy, we're reminded that cultural figures are often immortalized not through grand gestures, but through the subtle shaping of everyday thought and laughter. His death, like his life, reflects humanity's deep connection to humor as both a coping mechanism and a tool for change, ensuring that his memory endures not just in history, but in the echo of every well-timed punchline. Mitsy Green, a notable child star of the early 1930s, passed away on May 24, 1969, at the age of 48 from cancer. Her death, though quiet and devoid of the spectacle that often surrounds Hollywood tragedies, marked the end of a life spent largely in the shadows of her early fame. Born in 1920, Green became a sensation for her roles in early talkies, where her precocious talent, comedic timing, and remarkable mimicry made her one of the first child stars to successfully navigate the transition from silent to sound film. Green's passing reflected the broader challenges faced by early child actors, how fame, once bright, could fade as audiences and studio systems shifted focus. By the time of her death, she had long since stepped out of the spotlight, performing only occasionally in stage productions or on television. Her relatively young age at death also underscored the era's more limited understanding and treatment options for illnesses like cancer, which carried a heavy social and emotional toll during the mid-20th century. The immediate consequences of Green's death were not widely publicized, in stark contrast to her once celebrated status. However, for those familiar with early American cinema, it prompted a brief but poignant reflection on the ephemeral nature of child stardom. Her passing evoked comparisons with other young performers whose careers dimmed as they aged, highlighting the demanding and often unsparing nature of the entertainment industry. Though her death did not shift the course of history, it subtly reinforced the bittersweet narrative of early Hollywood, a place where dreams flourished and often quietly faded. Green's legacy, while not as frequently revisited as some of her contemporaries, lives on in the annals of film history and in the performances she left behind. Her work helped define the role of children in early sound films, paving the way for future generations of young actors. In remembering figures like Mitsy Green, we confront deeper truths about fame, identity, and the human desire for recognition. Through film archives, retrospectives, and the enduring curiosity of classic film enthusiasts, we immortalize such figures, preserving not just their performances, but their place in a cultural lineage that speaks to the transient yet powerful nature of memory and art. Nicholas Copernicus, the Renaissance astronomer who revolutionized humanity's understanding of the cosmos, died a natural death on May 24, 1543, at the age of 70. He passed away in Frombork, in what is now Poland, shortly after receiving the first printed copy of his seminal work, On the Revolutions of the Celestial Spheres. It is said he awoke from a stroke-induced coma just long enough to see the finished manuscript, perhaps a fitting final act for a man whose theories would overturn centuries of accepted wisdom. Copernicus lived in an era when the geocentric model, which placed Earth at the center of the universe, was both scientifically accepted and religiously sanctioned. By daring to propose a heliocentric model that the Earth orbited the Sun, he directly challenged not only ancient scientific orthodoxy, but also the powerful theological frameworks of his time. His decision to delay publication until the end of his life speaks volumes about the intellectual caution and personal risk he faced in a world where dissenting views could provoke severe consequences. The immediate impact of Copernicus's death was muted. While his work was published, it did not cause a revolution overnight. The true shockwaves came decades later as thinkers like Galileo, Kepler, and Newton expanded upon and validated his model. Still, his death symbolized the passing of one intellectual age and the quiet dawn of another. His ideas ultimately ushered in the scientific revolution, shifting the trajectory of history and realigning humanity's place in the cosmos, from divine center to orbiting observer. Copernicus's posthumous legend grew as science increasingly vindicated his theories. Over time, his name became synonymous with radical intellectual courage, a figure who dared to imagine a universe governed by natural laws rather than fixed dogma. Monuments, planetariums, and even craters on the moon bear his name, ensuring his legacy lives on not only in academic circles, but also in public imagination. In death, Copernicus reveals a profound truth about human progress: that transformative change often begins quietly, with the courage to question. We immortalize such figures through education, celebration, and continued inquiry, proof that memory, like the planets he studied, moves in enduring and ever-expanding orbits.